So, I did the AFC East yesterday, so now we move on to the next conference, the AFC, and on to the AFC North. I'll reread my grade scale for you guys. As an A+, the Super Bowl winner, perfect team, go undefeated. An A is a Super Bowl team, they're just missing a couple players here and there. A-, a playoff team with Super Bowl potential. A B+, it needs work at some positions, / just needs experience, but it has playoff potential and maybe chance for a Super Bowl. A B is a wild card, maybe. They're missing multiple positions, so it's kind of a question mark. Then a B- is a wild card, long shot. They'll need a little bit, good amount of work, but they'll eventually make it there. Then C needs a lot of work. Some older guys just need filtered out. Young guys need to come in. They're just missing some firepower pretty much in key positions. It might be time for a rebuild. D is a complete crapshoot. It just needs players in a lot of positions in its rebuild time. And F's a dumpster fire, banana baby. It just needs players at almost every positions, and it needs a complete rebuild. So, today we're doing the AFC North, and we'll start with the Cleveland Browns. For the Browns, I got their quarterback, of course, is Baker Mayfield. I gave him a B+. He's not terrible. He's still young, but he's got no depth behind him, so he's kind of eh. He's working his way to being a better quarterback, though. He will eventually get there. At running back, you got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, when Kareem Hunt is available, which those two together is going to be a great running back core, so I gave it an A. Wide receiver, we got Odell, Jarvis Landry, Rashad Higgins, and Damon Ratley. I gave it an A- because you got Odell and Jarvis and Higgins, but after that, you don't really have many good wide receivers. Then at tight end, we got David Njoku, Demetrius Harris, Pharaoh Brown, and Ricky Seals-Jones. I gave this group an A because I really like this type of caliber starting tight end we have, and then the depth behind it's really good as well. Then at defensive end, we got Myles Garrett and Chad Thomas, which I gave it A- because I would like to see a little bit more better depth, but it's Myles Garrett. Then at defensive tackle, we got Sheldon Richardson and Larry Ogunjobi. I can't pronounce it. I've never been able to. But I gave it an A- because I really like those two, but there's no depth behind them, really. Then at defensive end, the other defensive end position, we got Olivia Vernon and Chris Smith, which I gave it A-, because, again, I liked Vernon, but there's no good depth behind him, really. At the one linebacker position, we got Adrius Taylor, which I gave a D, flat out, because this is not someone you would want to start. Then at middle linebacker, we got Joe Sherbert, which I gave a B, because he's average, he's not bad, but he's got no depth behind him. If there was a depth player behind him, I put a B+ there for him, because he's got potential still to grow into a better player. And then at the other linebacker position, we got Mack Wilson, who I gave a C+, because he's still young. He can work his way up to being a better linebacker, but we haven't seen enough from him yet to decide where he's going to be at. And for Joe Sherbert, again, he's struggling with two young linebackers who don't know as much about the game next to him, so it's hard to really judge him. Then at cornerback, we got Denzel Ward, Greedy Williams, T.J. Carey, and Terrence Mitchell. I give this group a B+, because at the top of the game, they're good. It's just they need more work still. They got the potential to get to the A, pretty much, what I'm saying. Then at free safety, we got Demarius Randall and Sheldrick Redwine, which I gave a B because they're good, but they're still working their way where they could be, pretty much. And at strong safety, we got Morgan Burnett, who I gave a C because he's just an average player, plus he's got no depth behind him. So overall, for this Cleveland Browns team, I gave a B- because they're just, right now, people may disagree with this, but they're just overhyped right now. Their defense is missing linebackers. Their secondary is still kind of Their cornerbacks are good, but the free safety and strong safety position could be better. But that linebacking core is a big need for them and kind of plays into what you see on the football side. Plus, Baker Mayfield struggling. Then, onto the Steelers, where we have Big Ben, Mason Rudolph, and Hodges. And I gave this group a B+, because Big Ben's getting there. Mason Rudolph still needs to grow some. And Hodges we haven't really seen enough from him to even judge on him, but he is starting now, so we kind of had to put him in there. Then at running back, we have James Conner, Jalen Samuels, and Benny Snell. I gave this group an A because I really like the bounce between the group, between James Conner and Samuels. Plus, Benny Snell adds some young side to that group to even booster it even more. Then at wide receiver, we got Juju Smith-Schuster, James Washington, Dante Moncrief, Deontay Johnson, Johnny Hilton. I gave this group an A- because, really, I'd like to see a true number 1 come back there again, as I don't think Juju is a true number 1. He works better as a number 2. So pretty much I just like to see a number 1 come there. But James Washington and Juju are 2 really good wide receivers still. Then on to tight end, we got Vance McDonald and Nick Vannett, where I gave them a B because they're solid players, but they're nothing spectacular. Then the one defensive end position, we got Stephon Tuitt and Anthony Shaquille, who I gave a B+ to because they got some upside to live up to still, but they're pretty good for what they do. Then defensive tackle, we got Javon Hargrave and Daniel McCullers, who I gave a B+ to because they're solid, but they're still working there. And then at the other defensive end / the tackle position, that since they run a 3-4, we got Cameron Hayward and Isaiah Thomas. Then at the other defensive end / defensive tackle position, since they run a 3-4, we have Cameron Hayward and Isaiah Buggs, which I gave a B+ because Cameron Hayward is getting up there in age, but Isaiah Buggs is the younger potential type guy that will eventually work his way up there. Then at the one linebacker / edge position, we have TJ Watt, Anthony Shaquille, which I think will work well. And I gave them an A- because TJ Watt definitely has that upside, but I'd like to see someone else for depth at this position. At middle linebacker, we got Mark Barron, Devin Bush, and Vince Williams, which I gave it A- because Devin Bush is still young. He needs to work his way up there. And plus, I'd like to see a little bit better depth. Now, at the other linebacker position, we have Bud Dupree, who I gave a C because he's just an average player, sadly. He had a lot of potential, but he never lived up to it. Then at quarterback, we have Joe Hayden, Steven Nelson, Mike Milton, Justin Lane, Artie Burns, Cameron Sutton. As you can see, the Steelers have been trying to figure out this cornerback position for a while now, and I gave them a B+ because they're still working on their way to trying to find out who's going to play cornerback for them in the future behind Joe Hayden. Then free safety, we got a player they traded a first-round pick for, Mika Fitzpatrick, which I gave it an A- because they don't have much depth behind him, but Mika Fitzpatrick is a great player. Then at strong safety, we got Terrell Edmonds, who I also gave an A- to because he's a good player. He just needs some depth behind him. Overall, I give this team a B, just because they still are working their way to trying to find their identity pretty much. Then we have the Ravens, who at quarterback, they have Lamar Jackson and RG3, which I gave it A+ because Lamar Jackson is a good quarterback, but their backup's also a good quarterback. And RG3 could literally, if Lamar Jackson were to get hurt, RG3 could step up like Teddy Bridgewater did and play that starter role. Not as well, but pretty good to keep him afloat for the playoff potential, pretty much. Now, at running back, we have Mark Ingram, Gus Edwards, and Justice Hill. I gave this an A+ as well, as Mark Ingram just filters really well with that running back position with Lamar Jackson at quarterback. And then Gus Edwards is really good at well. And Justice Hill adds a little speed side to that group. Now, wide receiver, we have Marquise Brown, Miles Boykin, Willie Snead, and Steph Roberts, which I gave a B+ because they still need one more great wide receiver. Other than that, this wide receiver core is pretty good with some upside to work on getting better. And at tight end, we have Mark Andrews, Nick Boyle, and Hayden Hurst. And Mark Andrews have burst onto the scene this year, which gave him an A+ because this tight end group is really, really good. And then at defensive end, we have Chris Wormley and Patrick Richard, which I gave a B because they're decent. They're not spectacular, but they aren't terrible. And then at defensive tackle, we got Brandon Williams, Michael Pierce, and Jahar Ward, which I gave an A+ because these are all really good defensive tackles. which some defense depth. Then at the other defensive end position, we got Pernell McPhee and Jalen Ferguson, which I gave a B plus because Jalen Ferguson is still working his way to being the starting defensive end, which gives them some potential. Then at linebacker, we got Kenny Young and Chris Board, which I gave a C because there's still some average players and some no-namers to me, pretty much. That's why I gave them a C. And at middle linebacker, we got Patrick Onswasser and Josh Barnes, which I also gave a C because it's pretty much this whole linebacking course. I'm just unfamiliar with it, or they're just average players. As the other linebacking position is Matt Judd and Tyus Bowser, as they pretty much had the same reason. Then at cornerback, we got Marlon Humphrey and Jimmy Smith, Brandon Carr and Anthony Averett, which I gave a B plus because it's not the greatest quarterback crew, but they got some potential to work up their way there. And at free safety, we got Earl Thomas, who I gave an A to because he is missing that depth, but if he had someone behind him, he'd definitely be A plus. And at strong safety, we got Anthony Levine, who I gave a B to because he's good, but he still needs some depth behind him as well. Overall, I gave this team a B plus because they got that quarterback position pretty solid for them. The running backs, this whole offense is pretty much solid for them. Their defense still has some question marks here and there, though, which leaves me on the edge of wondering if this team is ready yet for a Super Bowl run. Then our last team in the AFC North, we have the Cincinnati Bengals, who at quarterback, we have Andy Dalton and Ryan Finley, which I gave a C to because Andy Dalton is not going to get the done here in Cincinnati. And Ryan Finley, we just haven't seen anything. I'd like to see him start, honestly, since your season's already a crap hole. Then at running back, we got Joe Mixon and Giovanni Bernard, which I gave an A- because I'd like to see someone else in that running back course switch out every once in a while. But other than that, this running back group is great. Now, wide receiver, we've got A.J. Green, Tyler Boyd, John Ross, Auden Tate, Alex Erickson, who I gave an A to because those top three are just great. I'd like to see him trade A.J. Brown and get some draft picks out of him, but I wouldn't like to see him do that unless they got a first-round pick or multiple second-round picks, as they are in rebuilding phase now. And then at tight end, we got Tyler Eifert, C.J. Azuma, and Drew Sample, which I gave an A plus to when healthy, because Tyler Eifert and C.J. Azuma are really good tight ends when they're healthy, and Drew Sample is a good third person for their depth chart at tight end. And at defensive end, we got Carlos Dunlap, who I gave a B to because he's all right. He's still there. I'd like to see some depth behind him, though. Then at defensive tackle, we got Geno Atkins, Andrew Billings, and Ryan Glasgow, who I gave an A- because I still think there's some potential work up from that. And then at defensive end, we got Sam Hubbard and Carl Lawson, which I gave some C+ to because Sam Hubbard's still yet to prove himself in the National Football League. At linebacker, we got Nick Vigil. Middle linebacker, we got Preston Brown. And the other linebacker position, we got Jermaine Pratt. All three of these players I gave a C to just because all of them really either inexperienced or they're just average players. Then at cornerback, we got Drake Kirkpatrick, William Jackson, and B.W. Webb, along with Tony McRae, which I gave this group a C because they either haven't worked up to their potential yet or they're just average players. Then at free safety, we got Jesse Bates, who isn't terrible, so I gave him some C+ because I think he's got potential to be better. And at strong safety, we got Sean Williams, who I just gave a D to. So, overall, I gave this team an F, as they're just bad. The only good positions they have are running back, wide receiver, and tight end, which you can't do much with if you don't have a good quarterback. Which I think I'd really like to see the Bengals be the number 1 overall pick with Tua Tagovailoa. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. But Tua would be really good with this offense, kind of like how he already is with Alabama, as he could just spot the ball where he needs to and throw it to wide open wide receivers and John Ross and Tyler Boyd and A.J. Green, as Tua would go off with that offense, I think. Anyways, what do you guys think about the AFC North? And of course, leave a suggestion for a new video down in the comments below. And who knows, your suggestion may just be in the next video. Thanks for watching, everybody. And of course, make sure to click the links down below for my Discord if you want. Keep up with chatting with everybody. And there's an Instagram and Twitter link down there, so I keep up with social media pretty well. And there's also a Patreon link if you want to support. I do exclusive content on that. You can ask me questions. I'll post on here sometimes. And of course, just make sure to keep the sports week flowing throughout the day.